Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at gcnlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Oh, it's great to be on the air. Everyone all set, cocked, locked. Here we go. Your dial set correctly to USAPrepares.com. We're delighted you're here. Kyle's engineering the broadcast in Minnesota. I'm Vin Finelli. Dr. Richard Allen Miller's with us. Welcome, Doc Ram.
Well, Harry, there he is. Hi. I'm so glad to be back with you. It's not the same doing virtual and not doing radio. I get my daily or weekly blast of Vinny. and you're such a... I don't know what... I'll find a word. I'll find a perfect word. There is a large fox out there. Mm-hmm. Right outside. I'm looking at him.
Isn't that great? Isn't that great when you see wildlife?
Yes, wonderful. And I've noted I don't see any jackrabbits this year.
Well, okay. I'm glad you mentioned that, Rick. Dr. Richard Allen Miller's with us, class. DocRam.com. Rick, I have noticed over the years the absence of some things. Absence of lots of squirrels. Absence of the birds on the power lines. Absence
I need volume up. Just a widge, please.
Okay, all right. How about that? Two more notches. Okay. 2 more notches. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Rick, what do you think about the absence of the birds? Remember in the 60s, 70s, 80s?
The absence of the rabbits is because of the fox, but he's a go-getter, man. He looks like he's been eating well. The underground, the Earth is moving badly, and that's because there's things affecting our orbit and wobble. And one of them are all these volcanoes going off in the ocean. Everybody says, oh, that big blob out there, that's heated water, that's Fukushima. No, it's volcanoes going up, and they're going up all over. And it's expected for the so-called end of days, the end of an epoch, the beginning of another. We have cycles, and here we are, right where we started from. We've been here before. Did you know that the Clovis that they're unearthing down in Mexico had spaceflight? They just confirmed it. And the France in the Cave of Dreams, I think it's called the Cave of Dreams. It's got a big bison on it. Okay, man. You look closer, and the dots around the eye are a star map. And further south is another cave where the star map is in reverse. That means it was seen from space. Now, I don't know what it all means, Vermana. We've been here before. And we will be here again. Unless, of course, we won't be human, because how can you live with radiation? A half-life of a million years.
So, Rick, when you think about this, I've mentioned this. I'd love to get your take on it. I think we're going to go down with a whimper. Rather
than well, I'll tell you what I do know now. Hopi called it the red and blue cutina, and that suggests something with going through our solar system extremely fast. Redshift. No warning.
So, what are we talking about? What would be going through, Rick? Are we talking about plasma?
Pick one. Alien, Nibiru, the list goes on and on. I don't know. I know that the Earth apparently has other kinds of life forms than just human, because the Nephilim are talked about in several Bibles, including the Colburn Bible before. And they found skulls everywhere, and now the Antarctica stuff. So, I don't know. I don't know why they're not giving us disclosure. I can tell you that whoever is not giving us disclosure, that's covering up, is a toad. And because the whole thing is about doing your purpose, and someone's purpose cannot be controlling others. So how does that work? Aliens, I don't know. I'm depressed. I don't think it's a bad thing, blood, because this isn't real. I've worked out some physics and believe I know what happens. We go to the multiverse at the moment of death. We also go there every night in certain kinds of dreams, astral projection, certainly the Shabbat, sound current, talked about in the Upanishads, the voice of the silence, Gaia, lost chord, and near-death experiences. So it's not a bad thing. It's an opportunity. The Bordeaux Thadal, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, talks about getting off the wheel, like, when I come back, and makes an extremely interesting mark regarding the last illusion being the tunnel of light with all your friends waiting. It's the blue light that you go toward. If you go to the blue light, you don't have to come back here. If you look at that tunnel, you get to recycle. And the problem is, it's not real. It's a lot of pain.
Rick, you mentioned near-death experiences. Can you describe what a near-death experience is like for our class?
Yeah, your heart stops for 5 minutes. So you stop breathing. We got your lungs are full of liquid, and until someone pushes them out, you're essentially dead, or will be shortly. Did you know that at the moment of death, there is a measurable weight loss on the body of about 3.2 ounces?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And that's been known for...
What do you think that is?
Well, some people think it's the soul.
Well, isn't that interesting? So Sir Roger Penrose at Princeton is using Jerry Pollack and his own physics and calling it structured water inside a microtubule, and it dimension shifts because that's what it does.
You're talking about something like evaporation, instant evaporation, or what are we saying?
The structured water inside a microtubule is your soul.
Okay,
and,
so that's the soul.
It might be, from a physics point of view. Of course, it has higher analogs, and implications than just the physical. But there's something else going on here, and none of us have the answer, and it's not going to happen through physics.
Rick, one of our family members had surgery many years ago, and I don't think I'll mention the person's name, but there was surgery, and after surgery, there was, and it was a serious surgery, and there was pain meds, and I said, no, he's fine, he doesn't want pain meds. And the nurse gave him a push of fentanyl, overdosed him, and killed him for 3 minutes. Literally, he was out, and I called Code Blue. And there were a whole bunch of doctors and nurses in the room, and finally one Navy doctor happened to be there, and he believed that what I told him was true, that he got a bolus of fentanyl and overdosed and was taken down and out. Stopped breathing, did the gurgle, all that stuff. And he Narcaned him and brought him back to life. And I had a chance to say to him right then and there, when he came back, I said, you were down, they overdosed you, you were dead for 3 minutes, and it was a brutal awakening. Terrifying to this person.
I can't
Actually
hardly hear you. I mean, your voice is rattling. Okay. Is there a quality?
Okay,
What's going on?
Well, maybe it's me. Maybe it's me.
A sunspot burst. What do you think?
Okay. Well, this person was dead for 3 minutes and stopped breathing, did the death rattle, the gurgle, all that, and he was Narcaned back to life. And I told him when he came back to life what happened right then and there, and it was brutal. It was terrifying to everybody. And so I asked him. I said, "Did you see the light?" And he said, "There's no light." He said, "But it sure is cold. Really, really cold."
Yeah. Everybody
and you know this person
has similar experiences. Have you noticed that studies have been done on near-death experiences? Even Alexander, I spent a couple of weeks in the jungles with him and his wife. And Kubler-Ross, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross writes about death. The Ba and the Ka, the soul and spirit within matter.
Well, I can tell you, for those I know who have approached death and have returned, I don't mean a near-death experience, but those who have been diagnosed with or believe they're being diagnosed with serious diseases and are thinking about, wow, I don't have much time left. That is a life-altering event, and that will tend to make a person look at what's important and what's not important. And,
priorities.
Some people are terrified of the IRS or the state government coming after them for taxes. And when you're sick and that happens, you go, I don't care about those jerks, because it's not important. Something that would be terrifying to under normal circumstances becomes irrelevant. And you look at these, and you look at this plague of government thugs differently. You look at them as the parasites that they are. It's really interesting what becomes important. Family becomes very important. And what you do and how you say things and your intonation and the words that you choose become very, very important. So I just wanted to share that with you. Hey, Rick, when we come back, and I'll tell you a real quick story about, I went into Lowe's, the home improvement store, and something happened. It's kind of... Dr. Richard Allen Miller is with us, docram.com, DOCRAM.com. So, Rick, I needed to get some corner bead. You've been to our house, and you know that some of our rooms are unfinished. There's sheetrock on the walls, and there's some spackle, but it's not finished. Some of the corners aren't done, and it's going on 12 years, so it's about time we started finishing the house. And so I was passing Lowe's, and I had the pickup truck with me, and my son was with me, and it's an old full-size pickup, 8-foot bed, standard cab 8-foot bed. So I thought it was a good time to get this corner bead. So I pulled into Lowe's, and I don't particularly like Lowe's. I really don't like Lowe's, but I went in there because it was convenient, and I thought, okay, I've got my 5% discount card. I can use that. So I went in, and as I was going in, I saw this big sign. It said, "Now hiring." I thought, wow, they're hiring. Well, that's great. What an opportunity for me. So I walked in, and I put on my very best Columbo, okay? And I walked in, I kind of turned around as I entered the store, and this woman, this greeter was there at the cashier, and she said, "Welcome to Lowe's." And I said, "Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It's great to be here." And I said, I had my hand up, kind of like Columbo would do. He's kind of confused. And I said, I noticed this sign out front. It said, "Now hiring." And she said, "Yeah, right. Go right down there, and you can apply." And I said, but I don't have any skills." And she looked at me and she said, "That's okay. I don't either."
Yeah.
And they hired me, so it's going to be okay. You can go down there and apply. They'll probably hire you. You don't need skills to work here. So my son and I spent the next 10 or 15 minutes picking out the corner bead. And they've got plastic corner bead, and they've got paper-edged plastic corner bead. But I wanted the real stuff, the old-fashioned stuff, the metal stuff. And I found it. They didn't have very much of it. But someone previous to us getting there had stocked the rack with the corner bead and left the empty boxes on the floor. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to get about 20 of these pieces. They're about $2 each. And I ought to bring this empty box so I can put the corner bead in the empty box on the truck, and so it won't get damaged on the 20-mile trip, back to the farmhouse. So we go to pay for it, and the gal's having some trouble. So now the box was a box, it was called a contractor's lot, and it had a lot of pieces in it. And it was probably 50 pieces in the contractor's box. So I said, no, this is an empty box. Would it be okay if we took this with us so that we could pack the loose pieces of 20 corner beads in this for a safer trip home, and so it doesn't get bent? She said, sure, you can do that. I said, wonderful. So I said, now this has a different barcode on it because the box is for 50 pieces, single barcode, but it's got a different barcode from the ones that I'm buying individually, these 20 loose pieces. So she scans the box. Now we're talking about the corner bead is $2 a piece, actually less than $2 each. 20 of them, about $40. And I bought a 5-gallon bucket of spackle, about $10. So, the bill without tax is $50. It comes up to $1,100. and this is where the no skills, this is where no skills comes in, right? She's thinking that, okay, I've got $1,100 worth of things there. Obviously, there's no way that what I bought could cost anywhere close or even be a small fraction of $1,100. But anyway, so 15, 20 minutes goes by, and she finally gets it all straightened out. And after we explained it 3 or 4 or 5 times to her, that these are the barcodes you need to scan, not the box, because the box is for a quantity of 50, not a quantity of 1. So anyway, what I'm saying is, Rick, this is everywhere. Are you seeing this around here? We have lots of people who should not have jobs. Do you have that where you are?
Yes. We call them lawyers. Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
lawyers are skilled, and they take chances, and they take drugs. But, it's welcome to Oregon. Yes, it's a shame what's happening to America. Welcome to Common Core and our educational process.
That's exactly what I was thinking. That was the next dot that I was thinking that we should connect. Because we are putting people like this, generally probably nice people, but in the wrong place. So do we have people who have no skills teaching our children? Is that what's happening? Are they called substitutes? Are they called lab assistants? Are they called study hall proctors? What are they? And why are they there? And why aren't we hiring people who know what they're doing and put them in positions that are commensurate with their skills? Why aren't we doing that? We need to do that right now. We'll be right back. Class, Dr. Richard Allen Miller's with us. And, I just want to mention something. I am so fortunate. I really am. We have at USA Prepares, I guess this is bona fide bragging. We have the best and brightest in our class, our instructors, our students. And here's what happens. Some of our students become instructors, and they call in. And let me give you an example of who some of them are. Kyle in Montana, George in New Hampshire, Miles in Austria, Joey in Michigan, Rich Sheben in Montana, Lauren in Ohio, Mike Parsons, Tennessee, Ron Gibson, the Ron Gibson channel on YouTube, who posts us every day and has for years on YouTube, so you can listen commercial free. David Klotz in Missouri, he's an activist. Jack, a Marine in Missouri. Mike Ma in Guatemala. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for contributing and offering your expertise and information to our worldwide classroom. Kyle in Montana, welcome.
Hey, good morning, Vince and Dr. I almost called you Dr. Shealy. Sorry about that.
No problem. The compliment, actually. I'd rather be him. I'd like to look like him when I'm his age.
Boy, wouldn't we all, I tell you.
Yeah.
Hey, Dr. Miller, I got a question for you. I was listening to a guy talk on the radio program the other day, and he was talking about the expanding Earth. And I was wondering, just got to thinking about it, but is there any estimate on what percentage that the Earth was of what, compared to what it is now, how much smaller it used to be back when all of the continents connected? And tagged on to that question, is there any theories on what is causing the Earth to expand, if you think it is?
Well, it might have gas. I'm bloated. That's what Russia thinks. There's blowholes. The Earth is, it's caverns everywhere. Where do they come from? Well, probably the way that everything spins, it probably layered itself. Right where that's the mantle, it's supposed to be molten core, and guess what? Antarctica is not. It's 77 degrees in some locations in Antarctica. The Earth has got other things going on. What do you think about the moon? The moon doesn't seem real because orbiting satellites like that rotate. They don't just sit there and stare at you. Something else is going on here. I haven't got a clue. I bet we started out on Mars, and that's a water planet, more than Earth. Yeah, actually, there's literally more water on Mars than there is Earth, and it's a much smaller planet. And Phobos and Deimos are strange satellites. And what about that asteroid belt? What happened there? Russia and Syria. What do you think? I don't know. It's crazy. We've been here before. I think everything is in metaphor. So the Earth isn't expanding. It's flat. Yeah, I can't believe it. The arguments for trying to prove and justify having fun by saying the Earth is flat, why are they doing that? Is it just to irritate everybody or try to challenge, or they really believe it's flat?
Rick, are we...
I got a med for them, man.
Rick, are we saying that the Earth is expanding because of centripetal or centrifugal force?
Well, that's partly, you can throw, things will fly apart, no. But we're also spinning through space at a rapid speed, and who knows what we've encountered in previous drive-by shootings.
Well, there have been some drive-by shootings recently. There have been some near misses this year, significant near misses. I'm talking about pretty close.
About planetary, yes.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about near misses with.
Nuts too, man. I think all you guys are nuts.
I'm talking about. No, wait a minute. I'm talking about.
I don't know. I can tell you that volcanoes are wreaking havoc with the ocean. And we've got a 3-degree orbiter, and we are absolutely going to have a day after tomorrow. We can't not have it because how long it's going to last? 10 days. I don't know. Something short, quick, melted in your mouth. it'll sitting there and pause for a second, and then you're in a museum. I don't know what's going to happen. This is the 6th epoch, trial by fire. Electricity and nuclear radiation come to mind for the fire part. It's crazy because we are stupid. And when I say that, who in their right mind would think their purpose in life is to control everybody else? What egotistical, narcissistic bedside manner did they come from? I can't believe the discredibility and criminals running everything now. And when I say that, I mean on a local level, right on up into the national. And Trump is crazy. I voted for Trump because Clinton's a criminal, a really bad one, and would have been a much worse president. But Trump, what did he do? Get a grip.
Okay, Rick. Since you mentioned Donald Trump, I've been thinking for the last
hunting season, right?
Well, we can go back. Yeah, it is. But let's
look at Vinny. Can't wait.
Let's open up the channels of communication to Donald Trump, and I think that what we should do, and I've been thinking about this for days. Well, how do we get a message to him? And we had a neighbor come over, just stopped in for coffee one morning, and a couple days ago, and he said, "Well, the weather's crazy." And he's a farmer, and he's a seasoned guy. He's older than I am, and he's concerned about the weather. And he said, what are we going to do about it? And I said, well, I think the answer is we communicate with Donald Trump's son, Barron Trump, and we tell him that we are messing with the earth. We are causing climate change with geoengineering, and it will affect him and his children, meaning Donald Trump's son and Donald Trump's son's children. And maybe he ought to talk to his dad and call these guys who are spraying the planet with these chemicals and these aluminum particles and whatever else, these nanoparticles and these biologicals, to stop, or he is going to put them in confinement.
The earth toxic. We're not the ones changing it. Most of the serious changes are natural. Did you know that we had 75,000 people without power last Monday?
Yeah.
Not Monday, Friday. Yeah, I was just getting ready to go to Salem, and I woke up. It was really weird because I wanted to get some breakfast, and wasn't that interesting? The local truck stops were not open. The Bear restaurant was open. It was packed. And the Hoity-Toits, we have a Hoity-Toit, organic thing. And they normally open at 8 o'clock, standing room only. It's crazy. And they're opening at 10. You must be nice. I don't know what's happening. I had no phones or internet for 6 days, a week before.
I got the message that you couldn't be on the air because of that. Kyle, did you have another question for Rick?
What happened is a tree fell down. What's that?
No, I'm fine, Vince. I'll catch you the second hour tomorrow.
And
okay, very good.
Answer your question on why it's expanding. It is, as a theory, because I wasn't here when it was first made, so I don't know what size it was. We can guess with the way sediment and things like that. And so it's probably a good guess that it is expanding. I don't know why. It's full of air, gas. I think that
Rick,
some of it has to do with volcanoes and fire.
Rick, if we were to weigh it, to add on to Kyle's question, if we could weigh the Earth then, and we could weigh the Earth now, would it weigh the same even though it's gotten bigger?
Well, unless the Anunnaki took a bunch of gold. We'd probably flung some of it off into space. That's what happened to Mars and their demos and their atmosphere and the moon. The moon isn't. I don't think it's real. I think it's an artifact. I think so. I don't know that.
An artifact from Earth? A chip?
What's that?
An artifact from Earth? An artifact from an asteroid? A chip off something? What do you mean?
Well, like Elon Musk is going to go out and grab an asteroid because it's worth billions of dollars.
Yeah, he's pretty greedy.
And mine it, so we might as well bring it back to Earth where we can mine it. Now, did the Earth gain weight?
Well, that's the question. And not only that, would it put us out of orbit?
Well, the weight part is kind of dicey because the zeros we're talking about is significant. Little asteroid, a little circular. Remember, it's the cube. When you expand it twice the size, it's 9 times the mass because of the cube. Now, you got to be careful about that because Earth is not what we think it is in terms of elements. It's got water, but the water is just one part of it. It's the wall. It's 3/4 of the Earth. No. It's 3/4 of the top part of the Earth. There's other things going on under the Earth. I don't know. And likely is it isn't even like that. It probably is flat and got a dimensional gate that goes to another place with dark particles and they subtract. I don't know. It changes all over. The rules change. I don't know.
Lady Bird Johnson, President Johnson's wife, was really kind of bothered by the blight that she saw traveling down the highways and byways of the United States. And she was against these billboards that were everywhere. And I remember hearing Click and Clack, the talk show program, talking about these billboards. And, you know, with all these billboards and all the surface area, are we speeding up the earth by having these billboards being pushed by the wind? Are we... lots of questions.
Were pretty cool. You know, Vermicelli was one of my most favorite reasons for driving through the Midwest.
Yeah. Kyle, anything else?
Thanks, Vince.
See you tomorrow. Class, I've got some really good news. It doesn't happen very often, but we have a Delta faucet, Delta brand, and it drips. And after several years, it just drip. So I called Delta, the faucet people, 800 number, and I talked to a guy named Dell, D-E-L is his name, and I said, hey, Dell, I've got this faucet and it drips, and he goes, well, how old is it? I said, I don't know, 8, 10 years old, something like that. And he said, okay, well, if it's bought since the mid-1990s, it's got a lifetime warranty. And can you describe it? So I described it, and he goes, okay, I'll send you the part, you know, to fix it. I said, well, actually, I'm not really sure if it's the hot or the cold because it's such a slow drip. I've been trying to figure it out, but I can't. He goes, well, I'm going to send you both because, you know, if one fails, you're going to need the other. So here's the point, class. Here's a company that actually is interested in keeping its customers. So Delta Faucets, if you've got a leaky faucet made since the mid-1990s, it's got a lifetime warranty. So you might want to give them a call if you've got a leak, and they'll take care of you. So no cost. And the most amazing thing is he didn't do what they typically do. He didn't say, okay, just fax us a copy of your receipt, which nobody would have, right? He didn't say that. He just said, I absolutely believe you. I believe you have the product. I believe you have the problem. We're so sorry you're having the problem. Would it be okay if we just send you the replacement part? Delta faucets. So there you go. Class, you may want to keep that in mind if you have a leaking faucet or if you want to buy a faucet the next time. It looks like they actually take care of their customers. Completely different from United Airlines. You know, book your seat and stay for the beating. That's their new motto, right? Hey, Rick, you plan on flying United at any point in the future?
Are you? I can hardly understand you, Vincent.
Oh, okay. I was talking about United Airlines. You know,
like it's. I don't know. It's unusual.
Well, we're getting a choppy signal from you as well. But during the top of the hour break, Rick, let's reconnect and see if we can fix that. But what I was saying is, there are companies that are miserable, like United Airlines. Why would anybody fly United Airlines? You know, buy your seat and stay for the beating, right?
I hate San Francisco. Every time I fly into San Francisco, the flight is canceled and I have to stay overnight. United, of course, is a miserable airline. Now, it used to be a lot of fun. Mile High Club reminds me. But it's all changing now because of fuel and packing everybody in like sardines. Have you noticed they used to fly things where if you wanted to fly standby, it was no problem. Now, it's dicey.
Now you know, here's the thing, Rick. When you go into a store, like let's say I went into Lowe's and I bought that corner bead and I paid for it, and I'm walking out the door with it, and then I get stopped. You know, this is just hypothetical. I get stopped by the security guard, and he says, hey, you can't have that. I go, what are you talking about? I just bought this. I just paid over there. That gal sold this to me, checked me out. She's the one with no skills. Remember her? She's the one with no skills. She took my payment, and I'm walking, this is mine. And the security guard says, no, you can't have it. Now, how is that any different from going to the internet, buying a ticket, paying for it with your credit card, getting a confirmation that says, okay, you've got seat A14, and here's the where you go to get your flight. You make the trip to the airport. You park your car in an overpriced parking place, or you have someone drive you there. It's really inconvenient to fly, and then you get on. Then you wait. Then you get on the plane, and they say, no, you don't have a seat. You're out of here. And then you go, no, I paid for the seat. I'm going to stay. And they go, you're going to go to jail if you don't get off the plane. And you go, no, I'm a doctor. I've got some surgeries in the morning. I'm going to stay on the plane. And they beat you up. and throw you off. That's what's happening.
Article yesterday where they dragged someone off an aircraft. I mean, literally dragged them.
Beat them up. Beat them up. Well, United Airlines is paying the price. And I'm so glad. Actually, the CEO should be removed from the board of directors right before the board of directors resigns. All of them need to go. Top management needs to go. And class, you can help United Airlines understand the error of their ways by boycotting them. I certainly won't fly them. Dr. Richard Allen Miller and I'll be right back right after. Yeah, we're going to call you right back. Kyle's going to call you right back and reconnect and see if we can get a better connection. DocRam.com. We'll be right back. Everyone all set? Cocked, locked. Hour number 2 of USAPrepares.com. Doc Ram is with us. Dr. Richard Allen Miller. I'm Vince Finelli. Hey, Rick, I was reading this story. We used to look up to people. Now I look at people in government and I think, man, I don't think much of them at all. Here's a post. Alabama Governor Robert Bentley resigns amid sex scandal. Here's a governor resigning amid a sex scandal. And that was Alabama.com. Can you imagine? This is the kind of leadership that we have in this country. And then we have... Then we have this young woman. She's a 22-year-old, and her name is Michelle Surratt, and she was she was in Colorado, and she was outside of a bar, and had a fight with her boyfriend, and so she had this discussion with this cop, and this cop decides to body slam her and just beats her up, throws her on the hard pavement. She's 115 pounds, 22 years old, wearing high heels, bam, throws her down mercilessly. This is the kind of nonsense that's going on. I believe that that people who do these kinds of crimes, like these uniformed, unconvicted felons, like this particular cop, should be arrested and put in jail and kept there as we would be should we have done something like that to them. What do you think?
You're talking to me now, right? We've got Skype. Okay.
Yeah.
Or worse, we could take them to a special cell where they could be.
Well, it really is becoming a problem. And here's what I'm noticing, Rick. It's becoming more widespread. I am seeing people on the road cut me off. If I'm on a 70-mile-an-hour highway, I better darn well be doing 70 miles an hour at least in the slow lane, and that's what I'm doing. I'm not exceeding the speed limit, but I'm being passed by every little puddle jumper car, all these new Cobalt Chevrolets. These guys must think they have rockets, and they must think that they are on rails, and they are able to travel at speeds that are not safe. And then I'm seeing people in trucks pulling trailers, unsafe speeds, weaving, cutting people off. Where are they going? It's so darn important that they've got to put everybody's life at risk on the interstates and traveling at these high speeds, pulling boats. If you look at a boat, how many straps holds a boat down to a trailer? And if you look at a boat trailer, that's like the most flimsy kind of trailer ever made. There's one strap that holds the front of the boat against the trailer. One strap. And then maybe 2 straps hold it down in the back. That's it. And I'm talking about a pretty big, heavy boat that can fly off the trailer. These guys fly down the road. I'm talking about 80, 85 miles an hour in a 70-mile-an-hour zone. They ought to be doing 55 in the slow lane. Not
Vincent, you ought to drive L.A. The Midwest is mellow. Trust me. You can tell what the temperature is in Phoenix by the road rage. You can, Los Angeles is creepy. That is a whole different universe altogether. And I can tell how long someone's been driving up here in Oregon from L.A., by the way they're driving. And I can tell you, 2 months, 1 day, and 12 minutes. That's accurate. Mm-hmm. I mean, it really is bad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you're seeing more road rage than ever before, like we are?
And importance. People, priorities. You remember how you were talking about that in near-death experience and how everything changes? Yeah, well, that's try Los Angeles and their values going down. Who's got the bigger dick? You know, the car is status, and it's crazy. It's nuts. And in terms of Grand Pass is mellow, and yet 2 weeks ago the road rage was so bad that guy shot at someone else right in front of downtown Grand Pass. Can you imagine? I can't believe it. It's crazy.
Well, you know, I see road rage, and you know, I've got my 45 on my side, and so but here's the point. Here's the point. So I'm okay, I think, you know, just traveling along, and I see this road rage and people cut me off, but why don't pull my gun out and I don't put it on the dashboard and I don't say, listen, you know, this could get worse. I don't do that. I just try to avoid these confrontations. I really do, because they can just escalate and get nuts.
You know,
and then everybody gets arrested, and it gets worse.
Yeah, and it's going to get worse even still.
Rick, let's talk about
money. Yeah, it's terrible. Everybody's under stress.
Absolutely, everybody's under stress, and not only is everybody under stress. If you travel in Springfield, Missouri, there is a business boom going on in Springfield, Missouri. There are clinics and hospital buildings being built like everywhere. It's hard to find a block that does not have some kind of a health-related business in it in Springfield, Missouri, because people are not because they want to be healthy, because they don't want to be sick, and I think that the stress, the toxins, the electromagnetic radiation, all those things are causing this epidemic, this increasing rate of increasing sickness across our country. I see it, I feel it, and I'm looking at people that are aging. They're aging in front of me. Rick, they are aging while I'm looking at them. That's how fast we're aging.
I've seen that. Watch what happens to Trump, how quickly he'll age. Every single president loses about 20 years per term.
I was talking with one of our senior instructors about this kind of thing, and we were talking about Myers cocktails. You know, the intravenous infusion of saline solution with maybe 50 grams or 75 grams or 100 grams of vitamin C and vitamins B and magnesium, all in this infusion. And I understand that the presidents get these on a daily basis to keep them going.
Well, I wouldn't want to be president for anything in the world, because stress is what causes you to age.
Yeah,
and the telomeres,
and it's working.
Yeah, and stress is not good. And right now, everybody is feeling the pressure on money. And while they say employment is up, I don't believe it.
No, it's not. It's absolutely not up. And these robots, are taking our jobs. And why are the robots taking our jobs? Because of greed at the top. And that's something that I'd like to talk about. And we're getting off on a whole bunch of tangents, but I think it's okay. So I keep getting these calls from Citibank. And they start out with this guy with a foreign accent, a European accent, and he's kind of got a slightly pleasant accent. It's a little grating to me, but let's say it's slightly pleasant. And he thanks me for being part of the Citibank family. I want to make sure that Citibank understands I am not part of the Citibank family, and they are certainly not part of my family, because no member of my family would say, you know what, your payment arrived delayed in the mail by 2 days, and we're going to charge you $25. No member of my family would do that. None. But Citibank thinks they're I'm part of their family. I'm not part of their family. The only reason I deal with Citibank is on a business relationship. And when they hit me with a $25 fee after being with them for years and years and years and being a spot-on, spotless, no-problem customer, and they slam me for $25 for 2 days late because of Christmas delayed mail for their check to be received and them to process it. I don't even know if we were late. All I know is they say we're late. I just told them to take a hike. We don't want the card, and we canceled it. That's not what family does. Family is nice to each other. not like Citibank. A miserable operation, in my opinion.
Yeah, your manager is supposed to be the goodwill where they charged you a service charge or something, and you go to the the bank manager, and she, as a favor, drops it.
Yeah. Yeah, she says, you know what, I'm really sorry this happened. Maybe, if you mail it a little earlier next time, maybe, it's the Christmas delay. But you know what? You've been with us for a long time. You haven't been a problem. I can see that, Mr. Finelli. We like having you as a customer. You're the kind of customer that doesn't cause problems. But would it be okay if I reverse this charge? Would it be okay? Do they do that? No. No, they say we have a policy, just like the police have a policy to end the threat. End the threat. That means shoot until you stop moving.
Yeah, well, you're saying their police force on each side of Missouri is different from the other. I noted that right off. They're all both thugs, but they do it differently. Yeah, you got what I was trying to say, right?
Well, just like I was at this convention, and these three cops were in front of me, and one, I didn't know the one was behind me, and they all had their guns, and they were ready to shoot me. And, I paid my $10 to go in there, and I've told this story a bunch of times. And they told me that, they asked me who I was, and I told them, they said, are you Mr. Finelli? I said, yeah. What's up? And they said, would you step outside? And I said, what's up? They said, would you please step outside? And I said, did you see me do something wrong? Please step outside. Did I do something wrong? Please step outside. Or what? Or you're going to jail. That's the attitude they have. They don't say, listen, we got a complaint about you. You were standing leaning over to the left. You were standing in this spot over here under this light, and we think that's really suspicious. You were talking to a guy who's running for Congress. We think that's suspicious. They didn't say anything like that. They were just going to take me to jail if I didn't leave. That's the problem with cops.
That showed up at Matt Stein in my workshop. Oh, man. Yeah,
what happened? What happened?
It's happening. That's because,
what happened?
What's that?
What happened at the workshop?
You were there. A couple of years ago, I did an ESP workshop or something. And they showed up at that, thinking I was doing something different.
Yeah. Okay. So, Rick, when we come back, can we talk about time? It seems like for most of us, time goes in one direction. And you've got to post on your website a link. It says, you break an egg, it goes one way. You break the egg, but the egg doesn't spontaneously get put back together. When you break it, it's broken, and you go forward from there. Can we talk about time? What do we know about time? Doc Ram's with us, Dr. Richard Allen Miller. Rick, when we look at time, we look at it going forward. I mean, we can look at history. We can say, here's what happened, but it's really hard for us to reset time, isn't it? Can you tell us what is time?
It's a duration of consciousness. It's the way you store memory. And that's time travel. Going into the past is to recall accurately memory by creating the same hologram that it was when you first encountered it. And it changes, and we have confabulation, and there is different kinds of time. And I wrote chapter 7 is on the whole nature of time travel and cavitation processes, and I start with definitions of time. Kids experience time quite differently than you or I. And they can get real impatient or get strung out where they lose time because they're so excited. They go into what we call sacred time. Now, sacred time is where the moment becomes long-lasting, like when you're making love or you're just hanging out with someone and you don't even think about it. It's just like happening. And that is where everything really happens. It's why most of the more Aborigine-like people, the Sonoy, the Hopi Aborigines, they all believed that dream time had more real content than consciousness. And time itself is like a cavitation process, like you have two brains. You have going from one brain to the other, You have the hourglass of that new adult. That's that little bottleneck there at the back end of the brainstem, trying to go from one brain to the other. And if you really think about it, one's a white hole and the other one's a black hole. Kind of like exact opposites of each other in terms of function and what their purpose is. It's interesting. Time is an illusionary thing, and one now where we think it's not really real because we have more to do with Schrodinger and his cat house. Lots of cats in there. And quantum mechanics uses time and space as primary measurements. And we have been doing that for almost 100 years, time and space. But now we know that time changes, like Einstein. You go to interstellar where you're going so fast, that time changes for you compared to the Earth. Remember, the Earth is not standing still. It's just hurtling through space, god-awful speed. And if you were just to stop, the time on Earth would be different. And so I've written a whole chapter on that because it's important to know how it functions so that if you want to change the movie, you take into the right account. That's how you time travel, for example. You go backwards in time by recreating the brain, that moment it experienced, that memory. And that's how it works. And dendrites and the storage systems that we have in the brain compared to computer chips is a whole lot different because water is got 6 zeros more, times 10 to the 6th. In other words, it's 1,000,000 times more efficient than gallium arsenide that we now associate with our forbidden zone and the so-called checksum error, where we store information between gallium and arsenic. And for a computer chip, it's going to be an interesting thing when a computer can figure out what you're going to do before you do. That's another concept in time having to do with information. The problem with mechanics, quantum mechanics, is that when you quantize something, little steps rather than analog. You want me to do this later when we're finished?
Yeah. Let's talk more about this quantum mechanics when we come back, and predictive crime. I can't imagine my response being arrested for Finelli. We know what you were going to do, and that's why we've arrested you, and you've got 5-year sentence. We'll be right back. Dr. Richard Allen Miller. Class, Doc Ram's with us. If you'd like to go to his website, docram.com. Doc Ram is a physicist, USAPrepares.com senior instructor. Rick, we were talking about quantum mechanics and AI predicting future crime. And I just, I have the thought that I'm going to be arrested for some AI saying that I am going to do a crime that I haven't even thought of. But because of these rogue computer systems and this disgraceful government that we have that's operating in these arenas, that it's dangerous. What are you saying?
Well, Vincent, everybody knows you're dangerous. I mean, get a grip. You're always.
Okay, Rick, hold that thought. Hold that thought for just 1 second before you answer the question. I got to tell you a story.
If you're going to leave that door open, you deserve it.
I got to tell you a story. So Rick, sometimes you wonder what people think about you. I don't think about it that often, but here's a story. I was telling the freeze-dry guy. He called me, and I was telling him the story on the phone a couple days ago. So we have this farm, and we live on a dirt road, and it's about a mile of road frontage where we have some fields and we have some cows. And we had some young calves born, and we had a mama cow that was kind of sick, so we penned her near a water area where there's some shade, and we fed her by herself so she wouldn't have to walk on her bad leg. And we kept her calf with her, and this old beat-up small pickup truck, bald tires, pulls over on the wrong side of the road and looks at this cow calf area, right next to the road. I mean, literally, if a person hopped through the fence, they could just carry the small calf, put it in a truck, and steal it. And that's happened. Cows have been stolen, calves have been stolen. So our son sees it, and the truck drives away. Then the truck comes back a few minutes later, stops in the same place, and it's in a low dip in the road, and where you really can't see him. But my son was on the tractor, and I was near him, and we saw this. And so the guy takes off, and it comes back a few more minutes later. So we got in the Jeep and in the tractor, and we're following him, and he just takes off, outruns us, leaves us in the dust, literally. So something's not right. And then we see the neighbors, and we talk to the neighbors. They said, "Oh yeah, he was checking out this house, this trailer house down the road, and he was stomping around in there and looking through the barns, and yeah, we saw him, and we're kind of concerned." And he took off. So my son and I get in the diesel pickup truck, and we decided we're going to go find this guy and find out what he wants to do. Why is he looking at our cows? Why is he pulled off to the side of the road on the wrong side? Scoping out. It looks like it's very, very suspicious. Well, we didn't find him, and then all of a sudden, we see him coming back on our road again. And this is all in the space of like less than an hour. So my son pulls the truck sideways across the road and blocks the entire road. And my son gets out of gets out and says,
he's just like you.
So my son, my son looks like a farmer, and he's a pretty strong guy. And he says to the guy, he says, "You need some help? Anything wrong? Can we help you?" And I'm on the overwatch position, and in case something goes wrong, no guns are drawn, okay, and everything's good. We're just having a discussion, like, what's going on? This is really suspicious activity. And the guy says, he goes, "I was warned about you." Yeah. This guy looks like Grizzly Adams, right? I mean, he looks like a mountain man, disheveled. And he goes, "I was warned about you. They told me that you're the guy that shoots people." So, Rick, if you ever wonder, I'm not exactly sure where that came from, but so this guy had the impression, he didn't know what I looked like. He didn't exactly know who I was when I was talking to him, because I did not identify myself. I didn't say, "Hi, I'm Vin Finelli." I just walked up to the car to help him, and he said, "Yeah, you're the guy that they warned me about. They told me to stay clear of you because you're the guy that shoots people." Now, I thought about that for a while, and I thought, well, actually, that's okay. That's okay that I have that reputation. And maybe that's why our house hasn't been burglarized and our barn hasn't been burglarized yet.
And your son is living up the image, man. I love it.
Well, every once in a while, he wanted to try what school was like. So he went to high school for the first time in his life. That was his first formal government training camp education. And the teachers and everybody, so what does your dad do? And, just to help them understand what our children, he would say the same thing. We don't talk about it. So now, I guess everybody's convinced that I am a hired killer, or I am a killer on the loose, a loose cannon killer, or something like that, and people want to stay away from me because they're afraid of me. Well, and I don't know where exactly. There's an Army ranger in the area, and he was talking to our son. Oh, I don't know, a month ago maybe, and he was talking to our son on the road, and this guy and my son are kind of buddies. So this guy he goes to Afghanistan. He fights, kills people for a living. That's what he does. And so he was talking to my son, and he told my son, and my son took, I think he took, third place at Disney Wide World of Sports in fighting and karate. He took first place in the Commonwealth of Virginia and first place in the 6-state region in fighting in karate. So he's not, my son is a formidable opponent, if he has to be. Well, so this guy, who's a really nice guy, this Army Ranger, said to my son, and they were just chatting on the dirt road, he said, "I'm not afraid of you, but I am afraid of your old man."
Yeah, really. You know why, Vincent? Because you do radio like this all day long. And that's crazy, man.
Well, Rick, you know me. Do I look like these images? I mean, seriously, you've been to the house. We've spent a lot of time together.
You have a, what is it called? A hair trigger. And you're trigger happy. And, oh, man, I love it. Well,
Rick, have you ever seen me be anything but polite except for those cops that invaded our expo? Other than that,
yes, it's true, Vincent. Your snide humor and sarcasm precedes you. It's terrible out there, and the kid, your boy, could have gone up to him and said, "Your behavior appeared like you were casing my farm, so I thought I'd just introduce myself." And
that's kind of what he did.
On that hill with that sniper rifle.
Well, that's what my son did. My son did describe his behavior, and then the guy realized. He said, yeah, I understand. And then he said something really interesting to me. After he said, "You're the guy that that he was told about that kills people," he said, "I guess I can't ask you for your help." I looked at him like, I looked at him like, "Are you kidding, right? You want my help?" And he said, "Well, yeah, when the government goes all bad, and we all have to stick together." He said, "I might need your help. I guess I can't count on you." And I said, "You really think that's going to happen? The government, you think, is going to get out of control and they're going to come after people? You really think that's going to happen?" He goes, "Well, yeah." And I said, "Well, I've heard some people say that they think that's going to happen, but not everybody says that." So I didn't let him know what my position is or is not. But it's really interesting that, Rick, people may think things about us that are totally, totally different from reality. And it could be, hearsay. It could be some guy saying, "Oh, man, there's this guy," and they may even have the wrong guy. Now, in my case, I think it's because I carry a gun.
Low profile, spell of invisibility. Everybody sees me as a sweet old man. But,
you are a sweet old man. Well, sweet man. I don't know about the old part.
I was also world champion one year for double sword, and I boxed with Dukes, the U.S. team. And let me tell you, I learned. I grew up in the Philippines. I was 4 years old, and it was the wrong color. They going to school and playing chess. They played chess on every corner in the Philippines. That's how I learned how to play chess. But they ganged on me, and that's where I first learned how to do it. And now I have an attitude about bullies. And let me tell you, I remember a time when my girlfriend was a dancer at the Firelight, and she was the mother. They ran the girls. As a Frank Calicurcio of the local mafia. And 17 Filipino sailors walked into the club. And the bouncer was outmatched. And the baseball bat was not going to do very good. And they started slapping the girls around. And so I went up to them, and I asked them to step outside. And they big smirk, there were 17 of them. And as we were going through the door, I took the biggest one in the crowd and just decimated him without even looking at him. I was just looking at the rest of them while I just took him out, down flat. And then, they, like all bullies, they folded. I told you how you do it. You just pick the biggest and meanest to lead, and you do them so that there's no question, you cold cock them. You just take them out so that nobody gets hurt. When you do a fight, you always get hurt. Doesn't matter how good you are, your neck will get messed up. I'm a sweet old man. I would rather use a baseball bat than my knuckles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of our senior instructors, Dr. Sergey Sorin, business partner with Dr. Norm Shealy, is a mixed martial arts contestant. Yep, and every once in a while I'll see him. I'll say, "How you doing?" I'm a little sore. Yeah, when you fight, you get hair. Hey, Rick, when we come back, can we talk about colloidal copper? I was talking with one of our senior instructors about spraying colloidal copper on the body. And what are your thoughts on that? Class, the latest news from USA Today says that Dr. Dow, the 69-year-old doctor who was beaten while he was in his seat, pulled from his seat by the cops, received a broken nose, damaged sinuses, other injuries, the loss of 2 teeth. Fly United, stay for the beating. Their new slogan. What do we need to do about United Airlines? We need to boycott them. We need to stop flying them. We need to drive their share price to 0. That's just my thoughts. I'm not flying United. I've seen them in action. I've seen them tell people that that had seats that were paid for that they could not fly. I've seen that. I was there at the airport when it happened. I was on that, not the flight with the doctor, but a previous flight a couple of years prior. United Airlines, in my opinion, is miserable. Colloidal copper, Doc Ram, what are your thoughts on making colloidal copper? I'm talking about 3 9-volt batteries, a couple pieces of copper wire, distilled water, let it sit for several hours, and then spraying it on the body. What do you think?
I haven't used copper, but I saw an article in Scientific American back in 2010, and then no follow-up article, and I saw, that's always suspicious. That's when I went to work as a reader. You know, when they stop publishing on something, usually that means they discovered something and they don't want to talk about it anymore, and that's that. And so you try to piece together things. And what I saw in the article was that colloidal copper in a specific weave, geometric weave, in spandex clothing will reflect gamma rays. Now, we have no way to go to space. If we go into space to mine asteroids, money, we're going to have to use avatars. We're going to have to transhumanism. There's no way that you can go across the Van Allen belt without having some chromosomal damage and other kinds of things. To go to Mars is unthinkable. The rats that they experimented with, nothing lives because of the radiation. There's no way to shield it. You couldn't have enough lead to shield yourself from radiation. And we've always seen these alien pictures that seem like they're sexless because they're somehow wearing a very thin stretch over material. And my guess is it's monoatomic or colloidal, not monoatomic, colloidal copper using this weave that I saw in Scientific American. I don't know that we have to have something, because there's no way we're going to be able to do it by going through space. That's the problem with radiation. The Van Allen belt is just the first of it. That getting off the planet, then we get to in hard space. It's not, like in the movies where you float on the sea. It's like the sea is toxic and there's a lot of strange particles zooming around, and especially when you get closer to galactic center. I'm guessing that's where black slime mold lives, because it thrives in Fukushima and Chernobyl. It's I don't know what I use silver in my gold bag as a colloidal silver because it's worthless money. It's it's a antibiotic substitute right out of the gate. Mm-hmm. And so,
how do you feel about inhaling? How do you feel about inhaling nebulized, mechanically nebulized, not electrically, but mechanically nebulized colloidal silver in the lungs? How do you feel about that?
It's creepy. I'm sure that Norm Shealy has a word on it. I don't know what it would be. I can tell you that anything taken into the lung is going to hurt the lung.
Very good. Rick, thanks so much for being with us. There's some things that we didn't get to that.
I miss you. I miss your company.
I miss you. I miss your company as well, Rick. Thanks so much, Doc Ram, for being with us, class. If you want to find his books, peruse them, buy them, docram.com, docram.com. Rick, we'll see you next Thursday, same time, same station, usapreparedness.com. Class, above all, honesty and integrity. And what happens next is up to you.